This screencast will help you get started using Adobe Illustrator and editing text in Adobe Illustrator. So to start Illustrator, you're going to go to the Windows icon in the bottom left corner, click on it, and you'll see a lot of Adobe things. We're looking for Adobe Illustrator. Go ahead and open it. I notice that sometimes, especially the first time it's opened on a computer, it can take a little time to open. And the first window that we'll see is going to ask us to start a new creation. And hopefully you've done some sort of sketch so you know the size that you'll need. And you're going to be starting what's called an artboard. So, you'll see the window here in just a minute. Over to the left it says Create New. You're going to click on that. And over to the right here, I have art. I usually choose art and illustration. You can title it. So depending on what you're making, always start with your last name, underscore, and then a description of what you're making. So this will be a sticker for me. Instead of points, I want it in inches. And if you've done your drawing, your sketch, you should have a good idea what size your final product should be. So you want to make your board a little bit bigger than that. You don't have to use every space on your artboard. You're just using, you want to make sure it's large enough. I'm going to make mine 6 inches by 6 inches. And then you just click Create. And now you can see this white area is your workspace. Some things to keep in mind. In the bottom left here, it shows you a percentage that you're viewing it at. So you're not necessarily looking at it at 100%. This is blown up a little bit larger. We're going to start here by adding some text and doing a little bit of editing. So over to the left, you'll see the large T, that's your typing tool. Anytime you grab one of the tools and click, it allows you to start using them. I'm going to type my name, and once I've typed something, I can highlight it. Another good tip is to always switch back to the selection tool when you're done. Otherwise, every time I click, it's going to start a new text box. So as long as it's selected, over to the right, you usually have some default windows open or tabs. If they're not showing up, you can always go to Window and select the one you want. So we want Properties and Layers open for sure. On here is where you can make your changes to your fonts and the size. You can spread your letters out further apart. So I definitely want mine larger. I'm going to try about 100. And then I can also change the font on here. Doesn't look too different. Let's see. I think I'll try this one. You can also change the fill and stroke on your text. I'm going to show you a couple of things before that to do some editing with text on here. So one of the things you can do is add an effect. And you can play around with a lot of them, but I find that the warp is useful for text a lot of the time, because sometimes what we want to do with text is have it arc up or down. And if you select that, it gives you some options. If you click preview, you can watch what happens while you do it, how it affects the text. So if you want it just to kind of go up in the middle a little bit, you can play around with that. You can play around with which side of it and how much it angles. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK on there. So I've added that effect, but you can try some other ones too. If you don't like it, always can do undo. And again, you can have it arc up or down. Play around with having it bulge in the middle a little bit and bend. Another thing you can do with text is right now, this is all one piece. So if I change to the fill, it would change the entire thing. You can, after you put an effect on though, separate out these letters so that you can use them individually and change them individually. To do that, you're going to go to Type and Create Outlines. And now I can see that these all have an individual outline. I can also go to Object, Expand Appearance. Now they're each a separate item, but they're still grouped. So I'm going to go to Object and Ungroup. I can now change each individual letter. So if I wanted my letters to be different colors, I can do that. And you can change. It's a good idea to change your outline to the same color as your fill. So when it's selected on properties, you can change the fill and the stroke. So those are some of the important things to know about working with text.